Right. Well, I think the billionaires are getting ready to flee. The fiat billionaires are getting ready to flee. There are many billionaires in our group right now have billions of sats, and they're going to stay right here for Renaissance 2.0. We're creating it. The incredible shrinking dollar is so obvious because of Bitcoin. So, Bitcoin is exposing and revealing the truth. And the truth is obvious to the likes of Richard Branson, who, by the way, is a very early holder of Bitcoin and accepted one of the very first companies in the world to accept Bitcoin back in like 2011 or 12. So, 2012 for Virgin Galactic. And the thing is, like, he's seen the writing on the world on the wall. You better escape while you can. So if they, if maybe their plan is like they see the writing on the monetary wall, they see the incredible shrinking dollar, they see their privilege ending, they see the end of the Cantillon effect, and they're gonna get the hell off this planet.
Yeah, it's amazing that the Virgin Galactic took Bitcoin to secure places on his space shuttle, and he converted it immediately to fiat money. Didn't hold any on his balance sheet. So the people who bought those tickets when Bitcoin is a few $100s are probably regretting that choice. They talk about people wasting money on buying a toaster or a camera with Bitcoin back in 2011, 2012. Imagine putting up $250,000 or $500,000 for 2 seats back then. Would now be worth over $1 billion. And of course, they didn't keep it in their balance sheet either. So that's the way things were back in 2011. Their emphasis on payments was really strong at that time. And digital gold, as we now have come to understand more fully, was still not firmly entrenched in the mindset.
Right. It was the Winklevoss twins who bought 2 tickets aboard this. They spent, I think, 215 Bitcoin each to secure a spot. So that would be worth millions and millions and millions of dollars today. So they have plenty. But yeah, I guess I think it was via BitPay, right? That Virgin Galactic had a deal. Richard Branson was an investor. And then, but of course, Roger Ver kind of blew that company up too. And I want to kind of segue to the incredible shrinking dollar. You have this world reserve currency still, having an identity crisis, trying to figure out kind of how to piece together this empire, this disintegrating empire. In the meantime, you have all of these pretenders, thousands of coins, shit coins that have popped up over the past few years. Some of them, while, it was still confused about what Bitcoin was, and before its identity was fully revealed. So when it was magic internet money and people were sending it for space shuttle seats on a space shuttle, it was all fun and magic. But a whole bunch of pretenders came up. So we have a few issues here. We have the Bitcoin protocol working. We have the algorithm and the game theory working. We have the proof of it. We have the collapse of the hash rate, which led to the collapse of the difficulty adjustment, which is driving old miners, all sorts of miners, young miners, new miners, everybody plugging into the system in America. I saw some data that even in Hawaii, which has the highest rate of home electricity and the prices in the United States, even there, you could profitably mine in your garage.
Amazing.
So yeah, you just need 37 cents right now to profitably mine.
That's incredible. Yeah, people are mining Bitcoin like the old days. Incredible.
I mean, insane, right? I mean, just a few months ago, if you couldn't get it for 2 cents, you couldn't compete. Mm-hmm. So now you can get it for 37 cents and compete. But speaking of that, the interesting thing is the hash rate, right? Even now with the hash rate, when it fell 70% after China unplugged their miners, then it rebounded a bit. But even at this lower depressed rate, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, BSV, is still at like 0.5% of the hash rate of Bitcoin. and they're undergoing a 51% attack for the past few days. So it's been delisted from a bunch of exchanges because of the fraudulent any payments could go through. You could double spend on it right now. So it's kind of a failed project, right? It tried to pretend that, the argument that Peter Schiff and Nassim Taleb and all these guys always make is that you could always just create another coin. And that's where inflation is in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not deflationary, or it doesn't have a neutral policy, because though there are only 21 million coins, you can create BCH, you can create BSV, you can create all these other shit coins. And that proves that that doesn't work. But we're seeing today, we're demonstrating, Bitcoin is demonstrating to the likes of Peter Schiff exactly why that is a false argument.
Yeah, absolutely. There was no need to try to create a so-called better Bitcoin, because the initial iteration was exactly everything that you would want in Bitcoin is right there in Bitcoin. Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, has been such a problematic experience for everybody from the beginning. The people behind it have been engaged in all kinds of behavior that is completely inconsistent with the ethos of Bitcoin. The fact that it's got 0.5% of the hash rate of Bitcoin is pretty consistent, that it's completely unused, it's unusable, and it was always open to a 51% attack. And so this is going to be ongoing. Exchanges are dropping it. If you are trying to get coins onto an exchange to sell them, that's going to be a problem, because exchanges don't want it. If you have coins on an exchange already and try to sell them, the liquidity is going to dry up. As I made a point before, according to my kind of surveying the situation, more than 80% of the volume is just wash sales that would be conducted by one primary person. And so the volume there is really non-existent anyway. And that person, from what I understand, is now understanding that this is a failed project, and they themselves are trying to get out. So there's, it's going to be tough to get anything sold. When it's like when Jamie Dimon got out of, the MF Global, he decided, hey, I'm Jamie Dimon, I want to get my money out first. And he did. And then everyone else got nothing. So it's a similar situation.
Yeah, well, Bitcoin is relentless optimism. Bitcoin is Renaissance 2.0. Bitcoin reveals all around you. So it just reveals that these were shit coins all the time. And the thing is, the thing about the game theory, the thing about the protocol, the thing about the mycelium sort of nature, as Brandon Quittem puts it, the thing about Bitcoin that it keeps on revealing this. Like, it didn't reveal until today the incredible shrinking dollar. Because as Satoshi himself said back in 2010, when WikiLeaks first started accepting Bitcoin, he was afraid, right? Because it was too young. Bitcoin was too young and too small. Bitcoin at that time could have had a 51% attack because it was tiny, right? Here, it's today it could take on the dollar because it's big enough to withstand that. It's big enough to take on a nation state. Bitcoin at the time of 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012 was still too small, and it deceived the users, it deceived the holders, it deceived Gavin Andresen, it deceived Matti Malmi to share all their Bitcoin, to send it out for free all over the world, tens of thousands of Bitcoin each to a whole bunch of people, because Bitcoin needed the network effect. So it had to deceive the early holders to not hoard it, because if they thought at that time it was going to be a store of value, they would have held on to it. They're not gonna send it all over the world, right? You're not gonna give it away for free. You're not gonna give tens of thousands. You're not gonna send 200 to Richard Branson to go on his rocket ship.
Yeah, people underestimate the network, exponential functions and how things grow exponentially. And there's some truth to the idea that there was an underestimation in terms of what the value would be as a store of value. And because it's hard to imagine, even if you understand the technology, it's hard to imagine really Bitcoin challenging the US dollar and other other currencies. And here we are with Christine Lagarde, making a fool of herself, really doubling down on trying to introduce a European digital currency. Meanwhile, the ECB, if you thought money printing in the U.S. was crazy, whoa boy, they're just like totally out of control, and their societies are completely falling apart as a result of it.